you know, everyone's really great at making Star Wars.
Making Star Wars.
Price of my baby. I'm 50 years old. Roll up in my IG, sipping on my stall. But you could be my mommy, 'cause I know you a hoe. Mrs. on tramp stamp when you're 40 years old. In the mind of Mandalorian, I got a hot tub. My little green hands giving foot rubs. Tattoo, bitch.
MakingStarWars.net. And this is Blue. How's it going, Blue?
Hey,
You drama
right? It's the
queen.
Geek Buddies, right? I love the Geek Buddies, right? Like
I don't-
we're Geek Buddies, and then they pause and they go, "Hey!" I'm like, and I
Oh.
used to think it was annoying, but they got me. Like after 300 times, you're like, I like this. Like I like it. Also,
That's called
quick,
a cult. Mhm.
huh? Hey man, if Star Wars has told me cults are the way.
Oh, yeah. But
And I
hey,
just wanna give
cult
a,
that can change its rules. You know, sometimes the cult says, "Hey, break the rules," because it's fun.
there's hope for Tom Cruise yet, right?
Maybe.
That's basically
I don't know about
the
that.
lesson we're all learning. You know?
Yeah.
Big shout out and love to Christian Harloff. He got COVID, and man, he sounded pretty bad this morning, pretty rough. So
No,
I know
that
when
sucks.
you got the COVID, I felt you sounded pretty bad too. I was like, Jason's gonna die. Like I walked
I
right out, your
sounded
show's
bad,
over. Like,
but I felt good. I felt good. It was nothing to me.
I don't think he was feeling good. So
Yeah, that's shitty.
you know.
Yeah, hopefully he feels better. You know, it's gonna get you. It's gonna get all. It's gonna get us all because it's never
No,
going away.
I'm never leaving my house. So
Yeah, it's still gonna get you, and then you're gonna be like, I should have left the house. I'm kidding.
no.
We got some Mando last night. This is Mando this morning. Funny story. I had to delete some stuff on my hard drive, and I took all the screenshots. Did a good job, and I deleted the screenshots with the other stuff I deleted when I deleted my trash.
Oh, no.
So we got no screenshots.
Oh no.
Is what it is. But
I wish that was where we could get like AI to say, "Hey, draw me some screenshots from the latest episode, but draw them in like MS Paint." So we could just have MS Paint versions. Like that would be fun, right? Something
Yeah.
real bad. Real bad.
As the truth says, three great Star Wars episodes today. Incredible. So there was 2 episodes of Bad Batch last night, and then we had this episode of Mandalorian that we're going to be talking about today.
That Asatru is living the Star Wars. He's at Galaxy's Edge right now.
I know.
And he's watching Star Wars. Like
and he's watching Star Wars. Yeah.
That's like when you get your sack of Halloween candy and you're in full costume and it's still Halloween, right? And you're watching Halloween Garfield special or whatever, like full Halloween, right? He's gone full Star Wars.
I should have got my capture sack and captured him. He could have been like sitting right here. You know, on the show.
We need a life-size stand-up. We just put him behind you.
Yeah,
right?
just back here.
And he used to be in that
Asatru.
pose when he's posing with people at Galaxy's Edge, where he's like in the one. He's like just like in a onesie shot with you or something. It's like, hey.
All right. So so we had an episode of The Mandalorian last night, and it was a big episode. It was the one that I'm the most convinced in totality was sort of like the pilot of Rangers of the New Republic being integrated into the B story of this episode. I would probably say that is most likely what is going on, and we're seeing a lot of multi-series world building going on in these episodes. There's things that happen in this one that will play into Ahsoka. There's that play into all of the shows, and so it's like, but it's also a little bit weird. It's a weird episode at the same time, and I think like it would be fair. I think it would be the fairest critique to say that it like the normal protagonists of the series are kind of falling to the wayside. And I think that it like Grogu was just pretty much forgotten in this episode and in some ways this season so far. And so I think that's like kind of a fair critique, but I also think it's weak when you see the bait and switch people coming out because, you know, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know what plural means, does it? And
they don't even know what pronouns mean, Jason. You're giving our educational system way too much credit. Like.
Yeah, right. But it's like you know, like the my whole thing is like I understand it. People are like, yeah, I want more Mando and I want more, you know, Grogu. That's why I watch the show. Like, I understand that. But I also think, yeah, the bow and switch kind of people are we know why they're coming to that conclusion. You know what I mean? And that's just what's kind of lame. But I also don't want to pepper the show with that being the cover for the real critiques that the show could have, should have, and stuff like that. But that's the problem with that lazy kind of I had got no idea, so I'm going to fight a culture war shit, is that you end up not talking about the actual weaknesses in the episodes and the strengths. And that's what we're going to attempt to do today, I hope.
I was told, Jason, to just accept everything because Lucas made corny stuff too, and that's just the way it is. So that's how I'm gonna take it from now on. I'm just accepting everything.
You know what?
It's all great.
No, there
that's
is
the best way to be a fan. Only
no,
like it.
No, there is a little bit of shut up and take the medicine. Like that kind of attitude is wrong. But also, if you're not fucking laughing when fucking drunk pirates are shooting at lizard monkeys, I don't know what to do for you. That's what I'm gonna say.
I didn't laugh at that, but I did laugh when the drunk monkey ratted them out their location. I thought that shit was hilarious. Like,
did you laugh when the Jawas had the pirates at gunpoint at the end? Because that was funny too.
Yeah, not the kind of funny you might.
Oh,
laugh,
come on! See,
I loved it. It was brilliant. This is the best ever. I really think. I'm glad that the Mandalorian now is not a show but a hub in which 8 other shows can come from it. Right?
Well,
that's what we're dealing with here.
No, that's where we're at the moment. But because this right here is we are hitting an exponential point where 2 things needed to happen. The show needed to fucking end, or it needed to grow into something bigger and larger and get into the larger scale storytelling. And in doing so, I think will allow us to go back to the smaller scale stuff. But we got to get a bigger conflict. We have to set the stage for where we're at now and where the characters are going, or you just can't do it. So it's sort of growing pains, and people either go with it or they don't. But you can't really necessarily go, now it's been 5 years and everybody's like, I'm so confused because I'm stupid. So the show has to hold the hand of the audience to some extent, and that's why we're here. So, but I'm ultimately way more positive than negative about it. But I would say this does feel like a good season of the Clone Wars, as opposed to like fucking, you know, the best Star Wars film ever made this season. And for me, that's not a bad thing, but that's what it is, you know, if that makes sense. But
yeah, sure, that makes sense.
But I
Suck sent us $4.99. We gotta give some respect to
oh
Suck.
Shit. Suck says most upsetting part of the episode was that Captain Side Salad went down with the ship. Love that guy. Yeah, you know what? And we're gonna talk about him in a minute. I got him in the notes and stuff. Oh, look who it is. It's Captain Bespin, Pirate King. How's it going, dude?
I'm just late again, as always. You know?
Hey, it's not my baby, not mine.
It's not my baby either. You know,
you're the one who's late, so it's kind of gonna be yours, man. But
listen, I'm gonna join Chris in Australia or wherever he lives. You know, I'm out.
He's gonna run. Gonna have that baby and run.
Listen, I can run for Buggy Man. I can run for my responsibilities.
But yeah, Captain Side Salad. I liked how they used the hologram in this one instead of the Power Rangers lighting. I thought that it made him look a lot better. And I felt like I honestly feel like he was like, I was going back and forth about this because I know Rob's gonna say should have had alien language and stuff like that. I don't disagree, But as I was considering that, I was like doing my little fan edit in my head about what it would be like in Huttese. And I'm like, you know what? Kind of starts to ring too close to Jabba if you do it. So I was like, if they were going to do it, they were going to need to come up with some really. They couldn't use Huttese. They were going to have to make like some kind
farts.
of. They were going to have to make some kind of like clicky clacky fucking weird, something weird, you know. And so I was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to go with the you know, the guy has the big pirate wheel and shit. So I'm like, you know what? I'm actually gonna go with that was okay. But
could I suggest?
Yeah,
maybe if they aren't going to go with, maybe they put an alien language, which I suspect they did, and I'll explain to you why. If they were going to go with an alien language, and then they decided to go, or they did, and then they went with the English version. Could they find a way to sync that up with his lips in some meaningful way? Because his dialogue does not sync with the hologram. It's off. It's off.
Did you watch from Star Wars to a Jedi? Just make him say "mama." Remember, that's Lucas. If it just says "mama," we can make it say whatever we want. Remember, that was his.
But Zev,
no,
Zev
I'm not,
synced perfectly.
I'm not.
You know
I'm not
I mean?
just. Yeah, Zeb was
Zev
was CGI though.
Well, so that synced perfectly, and there's a way to sync it up, and so the out of sync bit, I guess they tried to they tried to show like the holograms. Look, they didn't add any crackle to his dialogue. It's over the crackle. The crackle's like. Look, you could say this is nitpicking, but this is what
you don't understand this, Rob.
Do,
let me teach you something.
Okay. That guy is a cyber character. He's not real.
But he was a puppet. No, Zev.
That guy is a cyber character. He's not real.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Yeah. I love that. I love that, Lucas. The inventing digital tools, Lucas. It is my favorite.
That is the best compliment I've ever received in my life with $5. Jason, Star Wars sucks. Not like Depeche Mode. Though. Oh, I thought I sucked like Depeche Mode. I was like, that's a great compliment. Oh, she just doesn't like Star Wars anymore.
The soul patch Hoff is great, by the way. I do genuinely.
It is evil. It is evil.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways,
I'm not looking at that going like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm not. Yeah. I just look at it like, come on, guys. You know, like, let if you're gonna watch a show, if a dad's gonna watch a show with this kid, you know, like just enjoy the puppet. But when the face, it's just one of those things where you're like, what are you doing? But I imagine, you know, look, if we had someone. Yeah, let's say StarWars.com actually showed how this stuff was made, we'd know.
Whoa!
But no one says how this stuff is made anymore, other than you and Besman, right? Like
no.
Sometimes Meg.
That keeps us in business. So let's let them keep doing their stuff the wrong way. Right.
Yeah. But the hologram visual effects wise was quite good. Really
I liked the puppet in the I thought it just kind of generally worked better. They mostly showed him that way. I think that was a good choice. And you know what though, Rob? I won't say the details about it, but something else was changed that I'm not allowed to talk about. But earlier on in Mando, and it was because it was a little too gory and shard. So I think they were cognizant of not going too far on that front, like letting it skew too far into that eccentric side. So, but the one thing that I will say looked absolutely fucking laughable to me was the people getting blasted by the pirates from space. They're just like, whoa! It felt like MacGyver.
There was the scene where like the Trandoshan's on like a turret thing, and he was shooting at like the civilians. But he wasn't hitting the civilians just in front of their feet, like every time. And I was like, it's a running joke, obviously, that stormtroopers can't hit. Mm-hmm. But this was a bit ridiculous. Like, if they really want to massacre this town, they're doing a very bad job.
Yeah, Yeah, I thought that guy should have been really drunk just to make it make like sense.
Yeah,
hit anything like there were little on-site gags that could have made it like why they're ultimately scary but still incompetent because they have overestimated their abilities with space punch. So
not many people live in this town either, by the way. It looks like 30 people live there.
I have it in here in my notes that Grief Karga Moses is going to get criticized, and I think that there was like two ideas going on here. Number one, yeah, Karga Moses is going to get critiqued. Yeah, and so we have that, but it's like when you look at it, like I think the idea visually was it was primarily the weak women and children who he took from the city. Other people fled in the beginning, and then some people stayed, and we saw some people who, like the patrons, who were being molested, to use a naughty word, the shop store runners and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, but it ultimately the visual language played poorly, I would say, in totality, because it did feel like there was 5 people. And so I think like what you're saying is completely right. I think I know what their justification was, but it's a justification, isn't it? It's not really like it's not a good solution that helps the medicine.
No, you can see the budget in the show and like the fences they have put around them.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the same pirates over and over again.
Yeah,
like there's pirates that died the last time you saw them, and like they're reusing the prosthetics.
Yeah,
which is there's the lack of people in the town. When you go back to like previous episodes of the Mandalorian, I think Meg tweeted a picture of like one of the Mandalorians with a silly like the back of the helmet, like it was just being held together or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see where they're cutting costs, and like where they're trying to. Again, it's not a small budget show; it's around 120 million or something. But
yeah,
yeah. What can you get for that these days, though, right? So, I think
in this economy,
Jason, Lucas's 6 Star Wars films and Clone Wars were filled with all kinds of goofy stuff that made no sense. But they're fun to watch. So I don't know why Star Wars is expected to be any different than the media that made it popular and successful to start with, right? Right? This is all normal, right? You think, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's yes in the sense that when you have 40 Mandos running around, you're going to have some costume fucking problems. Some stuff is gonna get by, and you're not going to go, you know what? We're going to redo the whole scene because of that one little thing that most people wouldn't see. So yeah, I mean, to some extent, that's like true. I mean, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you go through and that you justify mediocrity because of the challenges of the past, especially when Star Wars was run primarily by George Lucas, who was taking his creation back from a corporation to own it himself. And then this is a corporation who owns it and everything else. So it's a weird balance of what you justify and what you don't, what you can let slide and what you can't. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I personally like when I see like goofy ass fucking pirates, like with the the Trando masks and stuff on there. I liked it. It looks cheap. It's silly. Ultimately, it looks fun. Does it remind me of the Ewok, the Battle for Endor a little bit at times? It totally does. And there's an element of that I'm probably nostalgic for, that I appreciate. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't fault somebody for being like, I don't like this. I could understand why they wouldn't, just the same way I could understand somebody not liking Jason and the Argonauts. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that's not the best example, but you kind of see where I'm going with it. I like monsters and people in masks. I'm a kinky. But
I don't have any problem with that. And I get the limits of production. Like, you got to reuse mass. I get it.
Yeah.
I think with this particular infiltration of the city by the one ship, right? Like, they're just kind of blowing it up, and is when everyone runs out the front gate in clear view. You got to have a scene where the villains go, "Hey, look, they're running out the front. Let them live in caves." Like, just recognize that they're letting them. They can watch us destroy their town until they give up, or. You know what I mean? Like, there's something, because otherwise it just looks like just 15 people are running out the front gate, and then they're gonna go live in that cave, like Nacho Libre. Remember when Nacho Libre ran away from home, and he like right outside the village, and he's got a tent. Like, you gotta have the other side recognize that. Yeah, we let them live in caves, idiots. You're like, yeah, they're stupid, but like just a way to play into that.
Garth Knight says, I remember Kathleen Kennedy being in charge of the molestation stuff on E.T. Star Wars.
What?
She was unmolested. I don't follow what you're talking about, Chat GPT, but okay. Do you understand what this person is saying? But thank you for the $5
I feel
super
like
chat.
this dude's trying to get us into a cult. The third super chat's gonna be like,
You keep dropping fivers, and we're in the cult, bud. I'll let you $5. I'll almost do anything.
Jehovah Witnesses. That's all it takes. Like,
Oh no,
no, Jace, he just opened
Oh,
up
no.
a floodgate.
All right, everybody knows.
Hold on,
Mormonism with the multiple wives.
Jedi ensalada, por favor. Ensalada is my new name for Salad the Hut. Like,
Ensalada.
like, I like that. I did like that they removed all the weird red lighting in the ship. Right, that was gone. Remember the red lighting from episode 1? That was like weird.
Yeah, that was like the emergency
him being
light,
so
wasn't it?
green. Was Salad's got a little Ugnaught, toady on board with him?
Yeah.
Was that Willow? Like, because he kind of
I don't-
moved a little bit.
Yeah,
Sometimes Warwick has a way of moving that I'm like, I think that's him. Like,
I didn't check the credits for that. I'm gonna check the credits for Zeb, which we'll get to in a second. But I don't think so though. But it could have been.
Timeline wise, it'd be awkward, right? Like for Warwick's shooting schedule for Willow.
With Willow, yeah, I would think so. But it's also like not completely out of the question because of but I don't think so. I think it was the woman who played the Jawa most likely, or even the woman who played the other Ugnaught in the earlier seasons. But so anyways, yeah, we get to a Delphi base, which is I'm guessing since it's called the Delphi base, it's on the planet of Delphi. And we open with some cool tunes like that song from Fallen Order.
I thought that should have been the Pirates theme, personally. Like, it was, I think they were going for that Top Gunny kind of sound, but it had a little bit of a pirate sound to me. Like, it was getting a little bit of that Hans Zimmer, when he added guitars to the Pirates theme.
Yeah.
And so, like, I know Henry Gregor Williamson did it rough. Yeah, but it's Hans Zimmer's studio, and Zimmer, that Pirates theme is in Gladiator soundtrack. If you listen to the opening battle when they're fighting the Germans, it's the Pirates theme is right there in the middle of it. So, like, that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, no, but I like that we heard the music from Fallen Order, that style of music come back, like what Cal's listening to.
It was good music.
It's fun Star Wars music. It's a lot more fun than we get there and we hear a fucking version of the Cantina music again. Like, I'm glad they did this instead.
I want like a real hip hop 90s, when they
don't give them ideas. Stop. Okay, 808's Cantina music. I'm in. You got me back in. But
out of curiosity, how do you feel about the music in this season in general? Obviously, Ludwig isn't doing it this time; it's Joseph Shirley. So, yeah, it's just middle of the road for me so far. Nothing stood out, which I'm like eager to listen back to.
Yeah, I was never. I liked the main themes that Ludwig has written, but I never felt that the use of music in this show was fantastic. I never felt that it was actually exceptional. So. I'm literally
scenes,
I literally don't care. Yeah, so far it hasn't mattered to me. The music is never actually enhanced or taken away from it for the most part. I mean, this isn't source music though, right? Source music would be like if it was playing on a jukebox and it was something else, right? But whatever. That like I liked this original tune that we got. Like, that's a highlight of the season or of the music. So there is that. I mean, I'm assuming he made that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not. So I can't take that from him. I mean, that was absolutely notable. And when I think about the use of the Mando's theme, like for instance, we had that shot, but we'll talk about in a bit. But where Mando shows up on Navarro and his little fucking space harmonica sound plays as he flies over, and like the audience knows immediately that's Mando. You can't confuse the shot. And I'm like, it was fun. And it was informative, and that's like something that you would take for granted. So I think he's using music well. I think he created a good track here, but ultimately, do I think he's surpassing Ludwig? And I don't know. I'm like, I'm on a page.
Music.
It's like the same.
You know how like the music in Deep Space Nine is fine for Deep Space Nine, but the theme was created by like Jerry Goldsmith or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
Well, yeah, it was that way for Next Generation too, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, because that's the theme from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah. Who wrote the motion picture soundtrack?
Jerry Goldsmith.
That was Goldsmith. Okay.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
for
which, there's
sure.
another who wrote Alien, the original Alien score, and then
Mhm.
there's an Alien 2 reference in here too, which I thought was great.
Oh,
Did you catch the Aliens reference? When we get to it,
I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure we don't pass it. I didn't catch it.
Yeah,
But,
I want to bring up the music because of what now halfway through the season,
yeah.
and well over halfway. So just to see his influence on the show as a whole. I personally enjoyed Ludwig's music over the first 2 seasons,
Mhm.
and it was various tracks I would listen back to. But I haven't found myself doing that with season 3 so far. It goes for the same as Creed 3 as well. I don't feel as if the Creed score, which is also Joseph Shirley, who took over from Ludwig,
Right.
I don't think that's as strong as the first 2 Creed soundtracks either. So
Mhm.
I'm not knocking him. I think he's had his hands tied in both scenarios. Like, he's not getting to be original. He's, following up what was done before
Right.
by Ludwig in both scenarios. So, yeah, I was just hoping for a little bit more, but it's not bad by any means. It's just fine. And I was hoping to see a bit more shine from him.
I would agree with you. I mean, that's where I'm like I said, change. What's the old saying is change is always room for improvement, right? And that's kind of what I was maybe hoping for improvement in the music, because I like when Ludwig writes a theme, but but I am not so super into the actual, like, the way that the scenes are scored themselves. So
Well, I feel like with Star Wars, the music is part of the storytelling, unlike most other series.
Mhm.
Like some have pulled that off. Where, like, for instance, the first 2 Burton Batman films, that music is part of the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And I think Zimmer, to an extent, did a pretty damn good job in the first 2 Batman films as well, by using that music to not, like, put it over to. There's a difference between putting music in there to get a character over. Like, say, The Rocketeer, you got a really cool theme that's making it better than it is, but using the music to tell the story. If there's no dialogue whatsoever, which in many times with film or animation there isn't, if you're doing it right, the music will tell the story, which John Williams is absolute master of. And I thought Ludwig was very good at it, but the show at times, the way they're edited, probably doesn't allow that to happen. You know what I mean? Because he did it like in Creed and Black Panther, but Black Panther 2, which is an editing nightmare, it's not as much, And so I just wonder, in the post, like, however these things are edited, which again we don't know because Jason won't make friends with the editors and leak it out, right, Jason?
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know
Yeah,
anything.
blame Jason. So, right, Bespin, you can make some friends with those editors. Yeah, you can get in on it. Let us all know. But
We don't know nothing.
nothing.
We don't know know nothing.
But the quality of the music is what he's writing. It's cool, it is cool.
So I want to, yeah. There's like things about the writing this season and the fact that it, like, in this episode, it hasn't forgotten the previous momentum or the ideas that it created, like the fucking Babu Frickers showing back up to, like, cheer when he says magistrate and then the robot corrects him, hi magistrate. There are, like, little things from the previous episodes that are being peppered through that I do appreciate. It says that they like what they're doing to some extent, and that they're, like, not letting their world, like, sort of pass on and just move on to the next episode like nothing ever happened before. So I appreciate that. But I did find it weird that Grief Karga just calls calls Carson and not Mando, just like cut out the middleman here. That I thought was a little bit strange. Did that feel weird to you at all? Or it made sense in the narrative. They made it make sense. But is that how it should have played down? Because when we were just Occam's razoring this, we were like, the pirates come, Grief calls Mando and says, help. And then he comes. And, like, that makes the most sense. Narratively,
yeah, especially
speaking.
when in the first episode he makes a point of saying, we're not even dealing with the New Republic. We have our own. Where's your security force? Like, where's your hired dudes? Like,
he wants Mando to be the protector of Navarro as well.
Mm-hmm.
He trusts him in protecting the town.
He offers him the job as sheriff early on. And which, by the way, I think if all that shit does play out, that we hope, not that we're saying it does, but what we hope plays out, the Mandos, when they go back to Mandalore, that's when Cobb Vanth comes in. He's like, oh.
See, here's what I was thinking. I was like, when they started attacking, and he's like, I'm gonna have to take care of this. I was like, does he hit the button and RoboCop comes out the wall? Right? Right? And he walks out
Right. Right.
Don't leave. You're gonna be trouble. Right? Like if you
Yeah.
don't leave now, there's gonna be trouble. Right? And he like you know, like he just starts like murdering them. Ah, RoboCop. Ah. Also, there's some weird local political stuff that Grief is doing in the first scene. He's got that big map of the city, and he goes, now, let's take the trading district over here and move it. Let's take a whole part of these shops where people live, do business, and let's just move it all the way over to this side of the city. You know, like 20 feet away, so it's closer.
Remember, you just get some, like Luke Skywalker showed us, you just get some space crabs. They walk out there and they just start putting bricks down and rebuilding stuff. So
it's not going to anger any shop owners who, you know what I mean? It's not going to anger. Just, hey, we're what do they call it? Imminent domain. We're imminent domaining you 50 feet over there.
Yeah.
To make, I don't know. It is funny. We're like, all right, Favreau, that's some interesting. It's like Favreau saw The Wire and was like, I got this. And then he does it again later when he's like, we got this big tract of land. We're going to give you and all your people. I'm like, who's live? Is that gentrification? Like, who's living there already? Like, who's living in Bullock Alley? No, there's some frickers. No, what if the frickers are living out there?
Rob,
like, I don't know. Like,
we saw with empirical evidence that only about 25 people live there. so don't worry about it. Don't worry about that.
Could you imagine these pirates trying to pull this shit on Ferrix, and they don't make it like 3 seconds?
Yeah.
like Ferrix, just whoops the living shit out of him in 3. You know what I mean? Like they go hard, like Viet Cong hard, bro. Like Ted Offensive hard on him. Like, like whoa, what's going on here? We're just cartoon. This is a 9-year-old show. What are you doing? They're like, fuck the Empire. We're not even the Empire. What we might be. We don't know. Like,
Tony Gilroy Control V'd some of his ideas into the script. Oh shit. But
did you drop the Favreau pirates into the Tony Gilroy and they just get annihilated in like 3 seconds?
No.
You feel bad for him. Like, no, don't hurt the pirates. They're fun. Also, I had
Cassian's mom would be eating that motherfucker as a salad. Like in that
they go to the table and they got him as a full Disney like Christmas Carol style bounty.
Fuck the pirates.
She's got a cornucopia with him in there and shit, right? No, she's got that salad wall, right? That wall of like plants in her apartment is like Salad the Hut, just like she's turned him into a local garden.
There was a missed opportunity there though to pick him up and throw him, and for somebody to have tossed the salad. Just to throw that out there. But we
I missed that one.
we end up getting a huge character. If you watch Star Wars Meg's interview with the actor who plays Carson Teva, he said that Rebels fans would be happy. He teased something big, and it delivered.
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
See, that reference made sense, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
I approve of that. Yeah, fantastic visual effects on Zev, by the way.
Looks good. Yeah. We on the show we've just brought up randomly. When they do Zeb, is it going to be a CGI guy? Is it going to be a really crazy puppet? Like, how are they going to go about it? And well, we got the answer now. But the CGI character looks good, and
voice was in sync. The animation was perfect. Like, it was very good.
Yeah, he even had his like little the things he does with his eyes and stuff were the same as that he does in the cartoon. Like in terms of the characterizations and stuff, that was really strong.
That's the kind of thing where I'm like, that's how you pay off people who grew up with something. You know, you don't just shove them in the background somewhere as a puppet. Look, he's in the back. Like it's just sitting there. But that's how you do it. It's super good.
It was definitely good. But one thing I will say, not crazy into the idea that you go and you introduce him like that, and then we just don't. It was just straight up a cameo though, and like that's it. He will obviously they spent some money on that shit, and they're previewing it early. And that's what it comes down to. But would have been so much cooler if he was with Carson for the episode. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, I also
so. I was just say so. Yeah, so with, I agree with you guys. He should have spent the time with Carson.
Mm-hmm.
But when he didn't, it once again feels a bit like cameo of the week.
Yeah.
And again, I love Zeb. I love Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't have much of an impact. It was just like, hey, look, it's this guy some of you might know. And then, like, disappears. Yeah. So, again, it's doing this thing, like, almost weekly, where it's giving us a lot of fan service, which, again, is good for us. It's fine for us. But to, like, people who aren't deep in the weeds, there he is. There's Filoni.
That's me. I'm deep in the weeds. I'm down in it.
That's how you created Gorian Shard, right? Deep in the weeds.
Oh no, I didn't do that. But I did plan on little Zeb doing. You lost that love and feeling. We was gonna do that bit. I was gonna sing it with him. We was all gonna cheat. And then Carson walks out and depressed because he lost that love and feeling.
I saw you in the bar. I saw you in the Zeb Carson sequence with the other directors drinking.
Shooting balls.
You had a stupid hat. You had a stupid hat.
Yeah, I did. A polecat hat. Yeah, and we was shooting balls in the back there.
We did not need to canonize your stupid hat, Dave. We did not need to do that.
That's a strong silhouette, Jason. Know what I'm saying? It's a strong silhouette. It passed the squint test. All right, I'll go back.
Yeah. No, I
do think though, like
it was
writing wise,
I did like it because you can see like a fighter pilot, the one who wears the cowboy hat, like Bill in G.I. Joe, and I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah, Wild Bill, right? Wild Bill, G.I. Joe. Yeah. I do think though, taking the suitcase phone call at the bar table, is a little weird when you're on official business. Like, we do know payphones exist in Star Wars thanks to Andor. He could have just walked over to the payphone. I don't know,
Well, he didn't know. Carson might have just been getting a booty call. He wasn't really sure that it was like
Grief.
That it was.
He's like, oh man, I've been wanting to fuck Grief again for a month. Thank God I'm drunk. Call me.
Yeah. It wasn't like classified or something like that.
Why would you take a booty call at the suitcase phone? I do want a suitcase phone.
Oh, because when because I'm of the opinion that Carson, like those handmaidens on Naboo, they're all in their 40s now, and they're looking for a man with some stability, a fighter pilot's license maybe, and I think he's living it up. I think he's tearing it up. I think he's getting some Naboo ladies pregnant. Is what I'm trying to say. And so he wants everybody to see that like he is living his best Star Wars life. It's like, look, damn New Republic.
She doesn't just live in Niagara Falls. She's real, right? Like, I mean, not every phone in Star Wars.
She lives in Space Canada.
Hollow.
Right.
And not every phone in Star Wars is a hologram, though. Like, it doesn't have to always be a hologram. You can do some. I'm just saying, budget wise, you can save yourself some trouble. Just do that cool 60s tech, like little 60s style.
They clearly did a day of filming Grief Karga just doing voicemails in the hollow message.
It's just that we gotta watch. Luckily, they don't make us watch it the third time, right? Like he shut out. Tim Meadows shuts that shit off, but I do find it. So first off, some notes like the Delphi base. Strangely, I know people are gonna say Scarif or something from Rogue One, but I was like, it reminds me of Revenge of the Nerds too, when they went to Fort Lauderdale and then they got on that island with all the military.
Paradise. Please, respect
with Leah Thompson.
What? No,
right.
That was the summer school. They don't. Courtney Thorne Smith or whatever.
Yeah, Leah Thompson's in summer school as well.
Looks nothing like her, other than they have thin lips. But
it's enough for Rob. So
yeah, but we end up seeing Carson go and like, okay, I got it. Somebody needs to deal with this. Goes, Zeb's not believing in the New Republic, as we can see in that moment. And we see that Carson is like, fuck, I got to deal with this. He goes to Tim Meadows. And I actually really like Tim Meadows in the role.
He flies all the way out to Coruscant.
Yeah, it's called
casually walks. I mean, we know pirates are. I'm just, again, time is not really of the essence in the New Republic, right? We just took the escalator. I like it when they take the escalator down the stairs when they could walk fast, but they don't. They take the escalator.
Rob, were you ever told not to run in class? Safety first. If you collided with a power droid or something, it would just take longer. So, but anyways,
it ruined the opportunity for Tim Meadows to hang up, or that's a call. Or was that skit, Bespin?
Bespin
fucking Jane, what's his face? Sent it to me on Twitter. The Tim Meadows skit from Saturday Night Live. Where
I don't think Bespin's seen 90s Saturday Night Live though. At this
next
point.
caller, please.
Next caller, please. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just a little boy back then.
Love
just a little Bespin baby back then.
I'll shut up, but I do, by the way, think the humor when he tells the droid to not put those things down there and he just drops it, that shit was funny.
Yeah,
that was funny.
No, I like him as the bureaucratic fucking stupid asshole who represents the fact that when we had a rebellion, we had the doers and the doers and the movers in the rebellion, and now that we're past it, we have the lazy people back in the same positions of power, and they're not really making shit happen. And and we'll also kind of like get into the fact that like the New Republic, what happens with Gideon, they're hiding their failures. People know it happened. They're not straight up lying to their people, but they're hiding their failures. So they didn't put a big, news, Gideon escapes. Like they didn't do that, or he's missing. They didn't do any of that. They just simply kind of are being quiet about things and being like, oh, we can only help people in the Republic, which I could kind of understand that part from the perspective of Coruscant in that moment. Like, yeah, I mean, if they're not a part of it, and the people who are a part of your shit need your help, you got to help them first. But you could tell he didn't care. He didn't give a shit. In reality, he didn't care.
Right. Yeah, and I like that. I just wish that they had brought on some of those people from The Wire, like David Simon or any of the writers, people that just have like a history of writing like local government politics or bureaucracy, tied into street level ramifications or something, like just so it's a little bit less Saturday morning cartoonish in that way.
Those writers would be wasted on this series in my opinion, but I would love for those writers to come aboard Star Wars, something, you know what I mean? Anything really.
Not if Favreau grew, like you just grow, you expand.
Do you think he's gonna grow?
Out.
No.
He's
in his 50s.
Of the dialogue, right? Is he 50?
Some of the dialogue in this season has been bad, man.
Oh yeah,
And it's the same thing with this one again. And again, the Carson Teva actor, he seems like an absolutely lovely guy, right? In general, he's not the strongest actor. Like in this episode,
I like him though. You know what I mean?
I like him as a personality, but he's working with bad dialogue, and he's not the strongest actor. He's having a lot more to do this season. It's the same thing with I can't remember the other Gideon Turncoat.
So that's where that was like the next bullet point was Carson versus G68, and G68 like it's a good moment, and he does his best with saying like when he says like you sound like an Imperial, but the way it was written, he sounded like an Imperial. That's what I kind of laughed about when I read. I was just like, man, it needed to have a little bit of, it needed to not be in perfect English or something. There needed to be something like a little bit of
the
slang.
way I've seen this done, but the way I've seen those conversations handled in an over the top way, by the way. Now I'm not saying, but
like
it's still dramatic.
Over the top, like arm wrestling.
Well, I'm just saying. I know people like to. If I say The Wire, people go, "Everything's a hard drama, Rob." All right, but Deep Space Nine was comical and TV show cartoony. But when you put Kira, the Bajoran representative on Deep Space Nine, next to the Cardassians, who are acting like they're reformed, and they're like, and you saw the tension. That actress and whoever was with her were able to bring tension even when they were in makeup or in a weird, goofy setting. Yeah, and there's just not the tension that's being brought right there. Does that make sense? Like,
and again, no, I think you're right. And again, I think it comes down to the writing, the dialogue, and the delivery. I don't think it's just solely on Favreau in that moment, but
he's so right.
That's not what, but that also like I think you guys are expressing what you guys wanted from that sequence, but I don't think
I'm judging the sequence.
No, and I'm saying and I'm saying I don't think you hired Tim Meadows if that's what you wanted to do.
No, I'm complaining about like the writing, the dialogue that's written for those actors, and then the delivery from those two actors.
Right.
I don't think they're able to.
But it tells us something about their intention, so I think that like there's another component to this that makes the scene fail for you, or fail in general, and that's the fact that they saw the scene at its very inception as lighthearted and sort of like let's make it fun, but that's not what it's the under like pinnings of it
The
are.
subtext is not fun. The subtext
Right.
is nefarious.
It's-
Look at the way she's bringing a lot of subtextual acting with her eyes and facial expressions.
Mhm.
The subtext is this is a Gideon informant, you know, who's looking to get back at another person that probably fucked Gideon over. You know, like there's more there. But then when they start talking, I like that she's hiding it. It's just that whatever. Look, you can say things like. It just reminds me of when in Attack of the Clones, Ewan McGregor is trying to uncover a mystery that's not really much of a mystery for anyone who's just been paying attention for 3 seconds, right? But it's written as a mystery. So you're like, yeah, it's written as a mystery. And you go, bro, Rob, it's a mystery. I'm like, but these people are they're human, right? Like, they could tell there's not much to this. But we needed a mystery, and Lucas was going for it. Just not a very well executed mystery on the page.
Mhm.
I do think, though, when you're dealing with Tim Meadows, I don't know about Carson or her, but I do know Tim Meadows is a guy who can improv, right? I mean, he comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
these people, like, if this is exactly how it's written on the script, perhaps that's your first take, and you know you let the actors in play another. I don't know if Carson's that kind. I don't know his previous work.
Well,
the actor's previous
done a
work.
lot of comedy.
Yeah,
Lot of
he was.
comedy. He knows improv.
You might
as
have
well,
seen him
right?
on the. He was on. Wasn't he on that like Walmart based show?
Kim's Convenience. What was that?
Kim's
Was it
Convenience.
Kim's Convenience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That now I remember, right? So, but like again, like you just want the actors are good, but it's sometimes even Harrison Ford's like, well, you can write, you know, this stuff, but saying it's a whole nother trick. And it is that what that character would they speak that way now? Because he seems more like that character. The Carson character reminds me of like an NCO that when I was in the Army, like an NCO is an E5, a sergeant. So like when you're below the rank of sergeant, you just get attached to different NCOs for different like duties. Like we're gonna clean up this fucking bathroom today, or you're gonna do this menial task, and here's your CEO for the day.
Mhm.
And he's just one of those CEOs that like he's been doing this a while. He's pretty relaxed. He wants the job done right. You know what I mean? But he's not rushing out to get shit done in the way that in Andor. Remember when they were first in trouble and they were speaking to their commander, and that guy's like, "Look,
Yeah.
I know all this shit went wrong, but we got to like nip this in the bud," because he knows the bigger deal. You know,
Yeah.
he's been around this, but he's not.
He's a big picture guy.
Carson's a big picture guy. I just don't
Mhm.
think a big picture guy like him. He's still a boots on the ground, talks in a very stilted, Coruscantian way. You know, I
Mhm.
think he would just sort of say it the way Zev was talking, a little bit more. You know.
Yeah,
at
well,
the bar.
but I think that might be the arc of the character is that
It would have been nice if
is
Meadows'
that he's
character
there
pulled rank on him.
and Zeb is
But if-
already like knows the reality here, and
Well-
Carson's coming to the reality. He's not
But
there
if Carson comes in with his everyday Joe talk,
Mhm.
and then he won't let it go, and Meadows then pulls rank on him.
Yeah.
Bureaucratic
Mm.
rank, right? In
Yeah.
the Army, we called it S3 when you had to go to S3 to get like paperwork done.
Mhm.
And every now and then they'd frustrate you. You'd say something and you realize I am talking to someone 3 ranks above me, you know, just because they're at a desk with Windows Solitaire clearly open in the background, by the way. You know? 6 active Minesweeper, you know,
Yeah.
things. But they pull and then Carson can move into that stilted Coruscantian way of talking because he's using the formal New Republic way of talking. There's a way to do that, but I don't suspect Favreau has any idea how military people actually
Oh, yeah.
speak. You know?
I don't either.
And that's
Yeah.
the missed opportunity for me. I think there's some great stuff right there. You know,
Yeah, he,
just on the script, you know, or in the actors, not beyond visual effects and everything.
I did
It's
like
also-
yeah. Go ahead, Besson.
I also might be bringing up the Peter Ramsey. He hasn't really done much live action, correct? So do
I'm
you
not
think
familiar.
like some
I'm not actually familiar with Peter Ramsey's work. Are you? Do you have?
Spider-Verse, right?
Spider-Verse, pretty much, yeah. Like
Okay.
so, and there's a bunch of other animated stuff that he's done, and so if we assume this might be one of his first live action attempts, maybe he's just not familiar with this process. We know Favreau and Filoni took a bit of a step back this season. You know, FAMU was obviously promoted to executive producer because they were busy with other projects.
Yeah.
So
Maybe, but he's not going to
May-
change the script if Favreau's a
I don't think he
showrunner.
changed. Yeah, I don't think he would have changed the script, but maybe he could have changed certain takes and gone with alternatives.
Well,
I don't think he would have changed the
like-
script, but
again, I don't think everyone has a intimate knowledge of military stuff, and I don't expect them to an extent. But when you are dealing with inherent military things, it would help to be like, I mean, there's Joes everywhere you go, especially in LA, and there's a lot of ex-military. You could easily say, hey, how would these two cats talk if they were, you know, like Corey Coleman is one of the guys that runs Double Toasted. He's ex-military. He would at least know, well, I would talk normal, and then that CO would fucking lock me up when I wouldn't let it go because he's got shit to do. You know what I mean? And that's just a little move where you don't change the script, but you can take something there, right? But whatever. I'm not.
But Carson, in the course of the conversation, does change his internal script. He does go okay, and then he does like reassess about how to deal with their bureaucracy. So there were those moments.
Right.
I like the actual writing. The idea behind the writing in the moment though isn't bad. Where you actually have G68 and Carson Teva, they're both sort of the grunts on the ground on opposite factions meeting up in that one place. G68 represents the evil fake left on Twitter who pretends like knows all the right things to say, but they're just in it to troll and to hurt people. That's what she is. She's a monster. But question I have for you guys. Carson.
She's a hot good monster.
She's cute. Carson, that's tricked me before, friend. Carson meets Mandos, and they call him Blue Boy. Are they calling him Blue Boy because of the Republic symbol is blue?
I don't know. Like, I wish this were something that, again, this is one of those things that could have been dealt with throughout the series so far. It kind of just comes out a little bit, and you're like, what is that? Like, yeah. I guess because of the Republic symbol being, well, I thought the Republic symbol was red. I don't know. Blue helmets, yeah.
That was the whole thing was, Matt Risman was like, oh, he's saying that because of his helmet, but the Imperial symbol is yellow with blue around it on his helmet. But when he meets the Mandos, he has no helmet on his persons. It's in the ship,
right?
And he's wearing orange. His ship is orange and white.
Well,
and
Paz
so
is like, blue. That's why I didn't get it. He should have been like, well, look at you, Blue Boy. You're all you are.
I would have been like, oh, I'm the Blue Boy. Okay, you're the fat fuck. That's what I would have said to him. You know. But and then the Mandos would have been like, I don't know why, but I respect him. He is one of us now. They would have given Carson a little Mando helmet. What do you want, Dave?
I just wanted to respond. When I was at Fort Bragg, I just liked the chili mac and the pound cake.
So Jonesy asked, what does Dave think of spending a week or two at Fort Bragg military base for learning about them soldiers?
Oh, they have cute little green sheets and we all shower together. It's the best.
I'm pretty sure if you send me and Favreau to basic training, we both die of heart attacks. So let's not do it.
Japan, only we
I would
take
also
showers
die.
instead of baths. It's the best.
So Jonesy, are you trying to kill everyone? You're trying to kill us all because that's what's going to happen.
Other than Rob would survive.
Rob would be fine. He'd be like,
I enjoyed basic training. I was a much better time than my life, like at the time. And that is, I was happy to be there. Except for
Del's correct. Kara also called him a blue too. So, and he said, and then Del says blue helmets.
Logistically though, I do wish that the little bar they were hanging out with was on Coruscant. You know, like I just think like going from planet to planet, blah blah blah. It's like could have just been all there at Coruscant and could have been like, all right, I'm gonna head out here and deal with it myself.
Rob, they wrote a pilot and that's where it took place. No, I'm joking, but that's probably what happened. That's probably what happened.
I have felt throughout this season, and especially like in this episode, in a second we're gonna get to, that there are Favreau has other plans and he's working backwards to get to them. Mm-hmm. So like that again, that hangout is part of that plan. We find out the whole reason why Mando had to have that dumb R5 droid. That's like he had to take that droid, whether he wanted to or not. Had to take it.
This is just a side note, just a total side note. I kind of got two theories. They're not deep, but the first is that I think we're gonna see Coruscant get really fucked up when Thrawn comes. And that's why I think they're setting stuff on Coruscant when everything's on Chandrilla. And that may also be a reason why that base isn't on Coruscant, because otherwise it wouldn't exist. and then they're going to be up against.
The base isn't important though. It's just a bar. No one. So it's only
No,
important
no.
when we see that final series in there. So that didn't need to be that base.
No, that was introducing a location that we're going to be going back to in these various shows. So
Some
that's
other series,
that's
but
why
it's not necessary to this episode. It's
no
for something else.
If you want to look at it just from that perspective, you're right. But in terms of the big picture, that's why. That's what I think it is. But I could be wrong. You know. And yeah,
Rob, you gotta understand. Rob doesn't understand. You have to monetize it, and you have to build it into this production. So 3 movies later, it will financially pay off. We have to offset the cost in the Phantom Menace for Jar Jar because he's going to be the key that ties everything together in the 3rd one. He's very important.
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
I miss that hair, by the way. All right. I gotta go eat some Mongolian barbecue.
All right. So
Good
Carson meets the Mandos, and we learn that in a moment I think you're either going to love or hate. I think either is fair. That R5 is the snitch. How bad do you think they beat R5? Like they fucked R5 up. Like they jumped him like it was a gang. Like they got in a circle. Office Space.
Yeah.
That's 100%. It feels good to be a gangster, and Paz just like cool.
No, his kid comes out there. Those 3, Paz and Mando start, right? But the kid Paz's kid comes out, right? And he's got the hammer. I hold the hammer now, bitch, right?
Okay. That leads into our next part, which is hammer time. What kind of family therapy bullshit was that hammer? when Rob is holding the coffee cup, he gets to speak, Jason, and you can't interrupt him. Like
that's why I never shut up. I'm always drinking coffee. Like I won't shut up on the show.
Yeah, but
they never did that before, right? We've all seen them, and when they were in the sewers in Navarro on season 1, all talking, they didn't pass the hammer around. Like
no, I'm gonna guess though. I'm gonna guess that this is a little bit of a different. This is a little bit of a different scenario. They weren't living in they're not in the sewers. They're in the caves. They're not Ninja Turtles. They're Osama bin Laden. Okay, they get to have the hammer.
Iron Man. You mean they're Iron Man? And they are iron. So I just like that. That's the same hammer she crushes people's skulls in with. So it's like the hammer that drinks the blood speaks the truth.
I groaned internally when Paz first started talking. And he was doing. I was like, "Oh God, did we just forget everything from the last episode?" But then they played the switcheroo, and he yelled at me in my face.
It was a bait and switch, Jason.
That was a true bait and switch, and I was like, "Whatever, Favreau, but okay, I'll take it." You know, I
definitely knew I was going to go down that path. You thought, but I totally definitely we did.
Rob,
we did.
You need to draw yourself a Favreau because it's not the same.
I don't know how to draw Favreau.
You know.
I got to draw Favreau, and I got to draw a thumb check. I want thumb check to come on. He's never going away.
Yeah.
They needed a power glove, not a power hammer, Dale. Like they needed a.
When the Mandos show up to actually when they agree to help, they show up. We have that little music plays, and then we I like that Mando literally tells them, well, we want that tract of land. And I thought that was actually like a good line because it explained that they weren't. Well, it was weird because they were leaving the original planet because they couldn't be. No one could know where they were. But now he wants to land, and like everybody's gonna know where we are. So they really could have just stayed and just said we're just gonna.
But when you're on the whiteboard, right, and you have that line come up, you could also say if you weren't planning on 700 of the shows, you were just focused on the Mandalorian series, you could say. Mando starts the show and he's like, hey, since your kids are being eaten all the time by birds and regurgitated back up, just like the Empire Strikes Back, so it's totally logical. It makes no difference. It's totally the same thing. I was offered recently a plot of land I could put us all on. We could start a commune.
Yeah.
You know, we could go there. And then they all go there.
I call Armor,
right?
I call Armor and Bo-Katan as my wives. They could plow many fields. If we take those hammers out of her hands and we give her a hoe,
if this were the Andorlorian, he totally would have done it. Andor's he's a poon hand, dude. Even Bick says it. Like, you fuck a lot, dude. Like,
Andor does fuck a lot.
he took his wealth and got a whole room just for fucking. Like that's
he got a girlfriend in like a week, and she moved in because he wanted that on tap. So
I thought she should have still been. My only complaint about the Andor series was that she should have still been there 6 months later, living off his
still
money.
living like
right? Yeah, you know she never would have left. Yeah,
where's the rest of my money?
The money's gone, but all of his other shit's there, right?
No, he has like $350 left. You know,
I know. So that could have solved a lot, but he had to get Carson involved, and Carson had to go and meet up to see the other chick with the Gideon thing. So we can bring up the Gideon. And
the reason that we have that is because as we move forward into this Ahsoka series and beyond it, we're going to have the Mandos and the heroes of the Republic that aren't plain bullshit team up. That's what I think. That's why I think we're going this way. Is that the Mandos, when we start, are living in the sewers like rats. They've now risen above it. They are now citizens and almost knights of that planet for now. And then they're going to go back. They're going to take Mandalore, and then they're going to save the galaxy. And so we're going to have a story where they go from rats to kings. You know, I think.
Except, look, if that happened over the course of a season or two, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Grief gives them. He gentrifies a whole beach. You know, so the fricker's got to move.
He's not gentrifying it. There's only 30 people there, Rob. We've already talked about this.
Jeremy Bullock was gentrified out of the Boba Fett role. I got to imagine Bullock Point or whatever is down there is being gentrified. I feel. So he likes to use the word gentry. I'm just letting you know, man.
I will concede that 5 years ago, each of those frickers would have had their own place. But now they're living like 3 to a house. So
yeah, well, the price gouging landlords. So, but the thing is, like, how did the Mandos, how did that cult get on that planet if they don't have a ship? They had to have a ship. I mean, where are they storing all the fuel when they want to replenish their rocket packs they run out of fuel on? Look, they're the ones bringing it up. So I'm just like,
maybe they were all on a ship together and they crashed there, and then they just, you know. But I mean, Mando did have the what do you call it? So he was probably finding them and bringing them in the Razor Crest. They were
one at a time. Paz had to sit in the droid cock, or did Paz sit on his lap?
Watch the first episode. I mean, the Razor Crest is based off of the clone drop ship, which could hold a battalion of clones.
I have it right here. It's right there.
Therefore, yeah. So therefore, a battalion of Mandos could fit in it. So,
do you think they took the bus to that secret planet that no one could get to?
Hey, don't knock public transportation.
I'm not. I just refuse to believe the Mandalorian took it for 2 years. Like,
yeah, no. That was him misspeaking. He was fucking frazzled and tired and misspeaking, and people were hungry for stories.
Is that excuse?
Yeah, but that's what happens though, and that's what happened. But so anyways, yeah, just we already talked about Gorian's Ugnaught. I love the Ugnaught. I'm a fan of him. Mm-hmm.
Before we move on from the Mandos, like living on Navarro now, doesn't this defeat the purpose of having Cobb Vanth there? Like the theory of Cobb Vanth is going to become the marshal?
No, because they're not going to stay. They are.
They're going to move to Mandalore, but
yeah, and
that was what I was trying to bring. I forgot, Jason, when I was saying in the course of like a season, but in this episode, Grief gives them that tract of land. And then, like 2 seconds later, she's like, "And we're leaving." Like,
yeah,
like it's. I mean, there's.
Do you think they'll really bring Cobb Vanth in to be the marshal during this season? Because this probably would have been the time to do it.
No, because they haven't left yet, and they haven't got back to Mandalore yet. They haven't, and also Mando is surprised at the end of the episode that homegirl's taking her helmet off and that they're doing what they're doing. He doesn't even know it yet. So in terms of that kind of stuff, I think it's like the only person who knew what the plans were going to be at that moment in terms of the story itself was the armor, then Bo-Katan, and then the covert.
Yeah, but
so therefore there has been no story time for him to show up and take the spot, but they haven't left yet either. So Bo has to go bring back the tribes, to go and then go to Mandalore together. I think that's the way I'm reading it. So I'm not saying it looks really great for Cobb to come back in. I think he's down, but not out.
Because my thinking is like, obviously Poe's gonna have to, unite the clans. These guys will probably, make their way to Mandalore within that space of time. But do you really think that in one episode it's gonna quick be like, okay, we're off. So we know a guy on Tatooine. We think he might want this job, so we'll just bring him in because the New Republic aren't helping you.
Well,
And just like you just see him quickly, because
yeah,
I just feel like if you were going to introduce Cobb Vanth into this story, now might have been the time. Like if they put a distress
RoboCop, dude.
Well,
I thought
yeah.
RoboCop.
Well,
You
that's
just drop
what I
him.
was gonna. That's what I was gonna say though. Was like he was sort of the post credits kind of thing. He may be kind of a post credits moment. We may have a moment where we see like the civilizations at the end of the season. I don't know if we are, but I mean, Mandalore's here. Katie Sackhoff's on the throne. She's Mandalore. Bo-Katan has risen to the ring. All the Mandos are there. We might see Prosperity on Navarro. We might see the sheriff fucking arrive. Like there's things that can happen in the epilogue sense, but I don't know if they'll do it. I have no idea. So that's that's just me speculating.
I thought for a second Cobb might join the pirates and become corn on the cob. Like,
Yeah,
like
the Cornish cob,
the Plantalorian or Plantuine. Like,
yeah,
go full Vegemite. So Jonesy asks, Andrew Jones is the production designer for Avatar, Mando Season 1. Do you think using the volume limits the underrated production designers' opportunities to create stunning and believable worlds? I think this season proves that you can use the volume quite effectively. Like the Coruscant stuff, and there's one shot in this episode that I think is a little volumey, but that's nitpicking. So this season's quite great. The Kenobi stuff is when you do things quickly.
It's
time and post to make it all work.
It's a tool. It's a tool that can be used really well or poorly. At the end of the day,
because I mean, look, that when he arrives on Mandalore in episode 1 or 2, what was it? 2. When he arrives there, and they had the wet surface, they wetted down the set. They added in the mist and the lighting. That looked pretty. I mean, it looked as good as anything else we've ever seen on a film. So
yeah.
Then
we have the attack on Gorian's vessel, and then we have Vane. It's like, peace out, bitch. I gotta go to the other show. And he flies away. He makes it.
He should be Flea. He so reminds me of Flea. Like there's something Flea-ish about him. I don't know.
There is, there's a little something Flea-ish about him. But
he's above us. He's
below
us.
I was like, a part of me was happy that Gorian died because I'm like, it's good enough. But then I was also kind of a little bit bummed. Yeah.
I would assume he's dead, but like somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, no, I think he's dead. I mean that if they
Goes
go,
down with the ship, right?
he went in the he was the captain going down with the ship. The explosion was very final. It would be very insulting if we go, there was from the other camera angle you couldn't see he had an escape pod. If that happens, it's going to be like, nah. But then again, I guess IG-11 got blowed up and he's coming back too. So don't quote me on that. But I would say from what they sold us, he's dead.
You have ruined Vane for me.
Have?
You specifically, because you sent me a picture of him and you told me he looks like Matt Smith.
Yeah,
so
he does.
Every time I look at him, that's what I see now.
Yeah. I mean,
does he like fish fingers and custard?
I mean, there's a bunch of all those girls flicking their and guys over Doctor Who, Matt Smith. They should be doing it to Vane because that's your boy.
Doesn't have the Matt Smith hair.
Oh, you don't know. You don't know. He might shave it. He might come up in Skeleton Crew with that hair. But yeah. But anyways,
it's got a Skeleton Crew cut. Sorry.
When the vessel goes down, then we see the frickers cheering. And then like I said, like the last shot, the Jawas have the fucking guns on the pirates who they captured. The pirates running out, the way that was shot and getting like meeting Grief Karga's people, I thought could have used a little bit more personality because they were just like, we're mad. I thought one of them should have been like, maybe like, hey, come on, a little. There should have been a little bit of like differences in the pirate because partying pretty hard. That felt very, very Clone Wars cartoony, the way that was handled. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that matters,
As the Gordian ship crashes into the central city and blows up all their homes.
Yeah, I know that's what I saw. I was like, okay, when the ship goes down, it goes down over in the behind the city. I was like, okay, cool. But I was like, what are you guys doing? You're trying to blow up the city
that's
too?
The only plausible reason for that dude to be willing to kill himself would be to blow the whole city up. So the fact that he doesn't even, I don't know, like, it's just, you create a villain to kind of like chuck him out the door. It's, if you're gonna do that, then
Rob,
at least give them.
He's felt throughout these episodes. He's a part of what do they call him? They call it the Pirate Nation. Did they say that?
That's the Raiders.
They said that.
That's the
Raider
Raiders,
Nation,
dude.
Pirate Nation. You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is definitely like.
Can they all be skeletons in?
There's that one shot of just like a Mando just surfing on one of those ships as it's just going down. Just a random shot. Like, you didn't see him take it out. He just surfing and head back to all the other events. I thought that was funny. But I'm personally like not super thrilled with this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's like the action is fine. I don't know. No, like, Rob hasn't been particularly happy with this season so far, right? Like, you don't dislike it, but you're not
trying. Are you trying to get our audience to just
listen? They can come for me. They can come for me because I'm gonna be the one.
Jason said Jon Favreau's writing is. Hold on. Jason said Jon Favreau's writing is dumb, and the comment I got there was I'm the one being obnoxious.
Clarification: Favreau's writing is my favorite. Unlike these guys. Go ahead.
Look, if I had to rate it, I put the writing on the season at like a C. Like, it has some A moments, but there's just a lot. When you line it up, you're like, this wouldn't make a lot of sense in a comic book, let alone a live action TV show. You're just going with it. Like, that's the problem I have. And I'm not knocking comics, man. I work on comics. I love comics. But we all know
self-hating comics writer here.
When you're reading a comic book that is trying to lead you to episode 25 or the big crossover, and you're not actually part of the current logistical story, you're like, would these characters be doing this, or are we doing this to get somewhere? It is no different than when MCU fans complain that Marvel's doing that in Thor 2 to get to something else, or Age of Ultron to get to something else, or insert the last movie to get to something else.
It can be like sort of armor against critiques, and then an excuse to just continue to consume and keep taking it. Doesn't matter. But at the all right, Dave. At the same time, I do in this instance though. We know that they're literally building towards this thing that everybody really truly wants in the Star Wars fandom, which is Thrawn to come in to be formidable and for it to be a galactic spanning wide event. And that right there, I'm like, I think it's worth it.
But then this is where I have to agree with Jason from a year ago. Fans want that, but do they want Thrawn written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. We want the Timothy Zahn, heir to the Empire, Sherlock Holmesian, smart Thrawn. I don't want the guy who wrote Gordian, not Gordon
Shard. Yeah,
I don't think that's the dude to pull this one off. That's all I'm saying.
Right now, I obviously haven't seen it. Right, I haven't seen Ahsoka, but the things that I've reported on have been Thrawn is going to have these like 2 Jedi. He's going to have this Destro looking motherfucker. He's going to have like on Destro, like their arm. I think rather than make him, I think the performer, who is totally what's his name, even though he's denying it, Lars Mikkelsen. They're arming him with everything that he needs to be badass and to have all of the like tools for it. And if that guy can carry the character, I think that's the direction that it's going. I'm not saying that's how it's going. I don't know. I haven't read it. I haven't read the fucking script. And so I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me. So it sounds like it's going in a good place. I'm optimistic. It doesn't mean, but that's always been what Rob just said. That's always how I felt too. Is Thrawn's a character where when you're writing a book and you're hearing his internal monologue and stuff like that, you're like, he's really cunning. But can you show that? Did Star Wars Rebels really deliver that? And my actual answer is he was okay in Rebels, but it did not deliver as being like somebody who is, wow, if that guy ever gets cut loose, the galaxy's going to have hell to pay. It was just more like, yeah, this guy thinks he knows stuff because he read a cultural anthropology book about an artifact. I thought it was kind of like whatever. So
go ahead, Bestman. When I think about a character who's showing intelligence smarter than the people around him, and it's not a complicated way to do it. I just think about the Imperial guy that was helping Andor and them on Andor, right? That was running the base. He's playing his role, but he's also helping the rebellion, right? Like he's getting people in, he's letting them lead him to ask him to have the time off versus him making everyone have the time off, right? Like he knows how to play the game, and Thrawn's a character who should know how to play the game. Now, I haven't watched any of the Rebel stuff out of sheer I'm not watching this. This is anything for me. I watched an episode, I'm out. But, so I have to take your word that it's 50-50 on that one. When I hear Thrawn is going to basically just have a bunch of heavies with him to back him up, I'm like, well, that didn't work out with George Sabath. Why would you go that route with the dude? You know, I mean, a guy who does like to collect like the dreadnoughts. He does like to collect weaponry to rebuild the Empire. So from there, all that tracks. You know, for me, it's just if it comes across like that room where you're like, but the Republic and you sound like an Imperial. If it's that's not going to sound like Thrawn.
No, it's going to be like Thrawn has these like was working with these two Jedi in secret. What the fuck? Thrawn was working with this, like it's gonna have like all of these like little secrets that are coming, that are being like, I think this little web that's coming together, and that may play as part of like his intelligent larger plan. And and in terms of this, Dave Filoni, John Favreau,
and who also pulls off that vibe,
it may work.
The Thrawn vibe is Giancarlo in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
In Better Call Saul, he plays a Thrawn like perfectly. That's how Thrawn is.
Why they cast him. That's why they cast him.
He's not Thrawn. Like
they
give and look how they've written Gideon very one note.
But let's not go balls out on Gideon at the moment, because the character's like actually going to come into his place, I think, in the season, right?
And that leads us into the final scene of the episode, and I can give you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Before we go off the tangent of carry on. My point wasn't about the future. Like, I'm not worried about Thrawn. I'm not worried about Ahsoka. I'm going to judge it when I see it.
Sure.
I'm judging this season. I haven't been particularly impressed this season with the writing, the performances. I think the dialogue, especially, is not great this season.
I agree with Bespin.
And there's because so many of the Mandalorians, well, obviously they're all in helmets, right? But you can tell they're not speaking in the same room as each other anymore. When Pedro Pascal is doing a line with Katie Sackhoff, it doesn't feel as if they're having a conversation.
It's a little soundboardy. It's
soundboardy, and it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel right. I also feel as if with the season, like season 2, built up the Mandalorian culture for Din. Like, he had his strict little cult, right? And he thought that was the way. He met Bo and the Night Owls, and Boba Fett, and even the Cobb Vanth's not a Mandalorian, but he was donning the armor, and he was inspirational to Din. And the conversations he had with Bill Burr as well. It was all leading to a point of, this cult isn't just the way what it means to be a Mandalorian. This season is just forcing us into, like, oh yeah, cults are great. You should be part of the cult.
But is it though? I guess
the
at the end,
cults and non-cultists can work together to create a bigger compound, Jason. Where all the cultists and the cultists can.
But that's the question I have though. Is she trying to just get everybody into the cult, or is she trying to actually like open it up and merge it and move forward?
So my point is that I feel as if they probably, due to Pedro's schedule, right? I feel like they probably rewrote their angle in the season early on, and it's because of that reason a lot of this feels a bit janky. Like I said, in the terms of the performances, like the voiceovers, they don't feel like they're in the same room. You know, it's just bits and pieces like that. The dialogue isn't great. You've got some voice actors who aren't also doing a good job. I feel, you know, I just think the season feels weird to me. I think like it's missing something special this time around. I'm not saying Mandalorian is perfect. I say this all the time on my podcast. It's ridiculous. I call it I call the Mandalorian the McDonald's fry, right? Because we all like going to McDonald's, and everybody can have the fry. It's fine. You know you're getting, you know. If you want a Big Mac, you can have a Big Mac. That's Andor. That's you know, probably like the good thing. Obi-Wan is a chicken nugget, right?
But like McDonald's, sometimes they don't give you what you actually ordered.
No, right. So I think this
Kenobi's hold on. Kenobi's the Sunday machine. It just didn't work, right? Like it's busted down. Yeah.
Shut up.
So for me, something's missing with the season. I don't know if it's the direction they took with the writing, where they have to have all these people in helmets conversing. If it's, I don't know, just forcing plot elements in this now. I don't know. There's something just isn't right. I know as well. Obviously, Kathy said it herself, right? They absorb some of Rangers into this show, and also some of the others, which is also probably impacting the flow of the season.
I think so. I think that this is everything was micro, and this is very macro. Everything is like everything is like bigger pieces moving, as opposed to just like a guy and his son getting soup and fighting bad guys. Like and I think that like that might have they couldn't successfully navigate the personal story while telling a larger story at the same time. And like that's where I think there's a tone shift.
Outside of Star Wars, has Favreau ever done larger story well? His best things are characters in a room talking. It's swingers. Zathura, they're in a house. They might be out in space, but it's a very small one room set. Chef, with the first Iron Man's very small. Second Iron Man, when it gets big, doesn't work.
It doesn't have a script, so that's fair. Yeah, Cowboys and Aliens is terrible.
And the Avengers script he was working on with Zach Penn was not good at all. I mean, I've read that. That was not good.
Yeah.
Also, Iron Man 2 was trying to set up the other Avengers and a larger narrative. And again, that didn't work.
And those were all the complaints at the time. And that's been a consistent complaint. Anytime the MCU veers off into this thing is going to set up that other thing, you're like, but then why did we see this movie? Just make the other thing. Like, just make the other thing and put it at the front of the other thing. Even if it's clunky, at least it's in that thing. I get seeding things. There are good ways to do that, and there are like, all right, like this is one big maneuver over here. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's your preference, but I have seen the larger audience over the years complain about their respective franchises when they lean in on that. And I do think, although Game of Thrones, The House of Dragons, I don't enjoy it as much as the first one. I do think that could be a self-contained series, and it works. You don't need anything else, and it accomplished its goal, told its story, did it pretty well, did it over a long period of time. Like it's believable for the most part. Matt Smith isn't, what I mean? I believe he wanted to mess with his cousin. I believe that, I believed his stupid long hair, so there are ways to do it. I just don't know if this is Favreau's wheelhouse. Like his best stuff is like the smaller bits when, like that droid bit, when the droid drops the credits and shit, like that's hilarious, like just little shit like that, or the smaller, less Paley Moto bits, right? Where when she's being low key, right, it works pretty good. But when it's like, I gotta have her read this exposition, there's a lot of exposition in this season that wasn't in the previous, and a lot of times it feels like it's 80 yard over, so we're absolutely clear. Everyone knows whether like
sometimes
when Paz
it is.
says
Sometimes it is for sure.
Yeah, it feels like when Paz goes, the armorer wants to talk to you. Like she could have just they could have just cut after that bit. They could have wiped, and she could have just been walking down the stairs, and we know that's the next scene. We don't need that. The armorer wants to talk to you. We know it's going to be the armorer when we see the armorer. Like it's just stuff like that. You're like this. It reminds me of the worst parts of Buffy whenever they cut away from Sarah Michelle Gellar, and you could hear her ADRing some. This is the thing we need to get to the something. I'm like, yeah, we could see it, but they had to add it in there because some cat was like, they won't know. Their audience is stupid. Like, our audiences are not stupid. I don't know.
Agree to disagree on that. I'm kidding. Dell says, I think today's episode was on point for the most part as far as the Mandalorians go. I'm still wondering what Bo walking both sides is, but that's where patience pays off. We'll get exposition. I think it's the fact that she's lived with the other people that aren't in the cult, and then she's living with the cult, so she knows everybody. She is the one. But what I think is going to happen is I think Bo is going to go find her homies, and Moff Gideon's going to be there with them, and that's going to be weird. Because at the end we have evidence. So
I brought my Nazi friend to the party. He's likable.
I almost wouldn't be surprised if the story is that Gorian Shard and the pirates and that sect of Mandos teamed up to do that job to get him out. I kind of think that we might be going in that direction. Carson thinks that the pirates and all of that is related. He has like this, that's what his Scooby sense or whatever, or Spidey sense, I should say, is telling him. And so I think that's where we're gonna go, and then he's obviously either embraced the Mandalorians and become one of them, or was always one of them, and they are simply like reclaiming their past. But it makes like an interesting kind of thing because half or a portion of the Mandos went Imperial, and so now they're gonna have to really cleanse that out. And I think that might explain how these like early Praetorians are probably going to play in, because they're probably a part of that weird Imperial Mando sect, right?
Right. But I do think it is ridiculous that we're supposed to believe that Imperials are somehow tied into the Gordian Shard nonsense, to the point where when Favreau, hold on, but let me finish it.
They would hire them as mercenaries.
Right. But I don't believe Favreau's writing things sometimes in this where, okay, like when Paz goes, why would we do any of this? Like, that's Favreau writing. You're right. Why would they do any of this? And then he answers it in the script, because we're Mandalorians. And you're like, oh, that's right. When he says, when Mando goes, you really think all this stuff? How does that make any sense? And then Carson goes, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Like you're like, yeah, it kind of doesn't, but it needs to make any of this make sense, so we're gonna go with it. But he is putting it in there. It kind of doesn't. But
that's my actual critique of that moment. Is that what you have is if that's what it's doing, you set up that you only have Mandalorians and this group of, I don't know how many do we want to say there are, 10? I have no idea how many are for the guys who go to save Moff Gideon.
7.5.
Let's just say there's between 10 and 30. Okay. They need to hire pirates to do the job. They're like, you know what? We're going to hire those guys to die, which is what Mandos have done to other people too. Like, Mando's been hired to be the one to get shot before. And so they hire these pirates to go in to like take out all of the other stuff. But where's the other stuff? There's only the one shuttle. So you're telling me that you went to get Moff Gideon, but you just took one shuttle with a couple of cops? You didn't have any X-Wings escorting him? Anything like that?
And no one ever mentions it. It isn't on the news. No, there's
well,
big secret.
It was classified. That's where we get that the Republic is hiding their failures. The Republic is trying to appear strong when they are in fact weak. And
this is where it reminds me of the mystery at the beginning of Attack of the Clones that isn't really a mystery. It's not a well-written mystery at all.
It's a mystery to the characters, but not to the audience who just like, yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah. And you're like, not compelling, no shit. You can show me some shit we're expecting. Like, we all know when Roy Schreider's chumming the side of a boat, a shark's gonna come up and get him. Like, there's no reason to hang on him, but you do it in a way where like, oh shit, the shark, and then you show him go, what the fuck was this? No, but you can do it in a way where it's not obvious. It's still satisfying or fun or enjoyable. It's just like, yeah. I do want to mention though, the alien reference I was talking about was when the little R2i, which I thought was a good idea that it could be used as a probe thing. Clever. It's right. It goes
Little
into
sensor.
like the Titanic, like Snoop Dogg in the Titanic, right? Goes down into the Titanic and films around James Cameron reference. I'm gonna give you another one in a second because when it lights up that laser, that's the same laser Cameron used in Aliens 2 that's scanning
Okay.
Ripley's ship, and Cameron is in that scene. That's Cameron in the Aliens 2 scene. But it's the same laser that goes out and scans with the smoke in it. They did the exact same bit. So
Okay.
and it's
Okay.
blue, which is totally a Cameron reference. Blue
Yeah.
World Order. So.
But so then I think it makes me as a fan have to think one step harder, which I shouldn't have to do. I mean, the narrative should sort of just flow and I shouldn't have to think, but it makes me think it was an inside job and probably based on G68 or stuff like that. They probably like made it where it turned out that it seemed like it was not, and they got him. Everything's cool. We got him now. So I'm thinking that we're going to have to start to see that there are people in the, I think that we're building towards the Republic is compromised as well. And then, like I said, we're going to have Thrawn show up and then they're going to have to go fight a war when they're compromised. So it's going to, all of this is going to make it where it makes sense why the First Order just comes up because they never get their shit
and then the
together.
37 people of Coruscant, right? Because that's all they can afford, will go and retake Hosnian Prime as the new capital, right?
No,
and then it all makes sense.
No. Hosnian Prime
Yes.
is already the capital at this point in the story, but it doesn't.
You lie.
But Coruscant is still like the core world, and it's still where the business is going down. It's still where a lot of stuff is being operated out of. So it's not like, just that's what I think they're doing with the story. I'm pretty sure that the book set up that Hosnian Prime is where it's going down right now. It's where like,
do you think
it's being ran.
when Gideon appears in the next episode, he's going to be eating a glow pop?
Yes.
Do you think he got addicted to him while he was on Coruscant? I love these glow pops, and they call him Glow Pop Man. Right?
He's all, can somebody get me those blue cookies?
Glow Papa.
Robert says, so did Gideon more than likely always have, excuse me, it's like the Mando's loyal to him since he wanted to build the Darksaber, which is probably who sprung him. I would think so. I mean,
shouldn't they be following Mando now? Like when they remember, because Bo-Katan's little cult left her the minute she didn't have the Darksaber. So why would they be loyal to him when he lost it?
But when she had it, they also, when she got it, she was given the saber. Sabine just gave it to her, and they didn't take her seriously either. So they're clearly just very selective and evil and stupid. And these are the Imperial guys, the Gar Saxons, and those types. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they are people that are just have a more fascist view of reality. And that happens to be more aligned with Gideon. So I think they probably want Gideon to be, but once again, that's me writing by assumption. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see like how they move forward. But when we do know that there's those fucking Praetorians, those like half Praetorian guards coming. And that says something about where that sect of Mando is moving towards, I think, probably. Right? That would mean they're becoming not only a part of the First Order in essence, but they're also like they're just moving in that direction towards that 30 years after Return of the Jedi kind of evil sort of regime. So I'm going to assume that's what's going to happen, but once again, we don't really know. I don't know. I don't want to get fucking somebody on Reddit saying I said this. That's what happens because I don't know. But
you said these pirates were the pirates and skeleton crew, Jason. You lie. You're a shill. You get paid to lie.
No, Bestman wrote an article about it, and he said like I don't know if Gorian Shard's the one of like the pirate who ends up there, and then or if it's what's his name, Vane. And
there's also things I couldn't say, which Jason knows I couldn't say. Regarding that, which with this episode as well makes things clearer for us.
Well, and one other thing that I think we should also put into context is that if there is always a chance that we could see, for instance, because Ahsoka is going to take place sometime before around Mando 2, and sometimes around Mando 3. There's always a chance that skeleton crew, they're lost in space, that they're out there for like 2 years or something, There could be a moment in time when the Pirate King Gorian Shard is the nemesis for an episode, and then they escape him, and then they move on, and it was before that. Like we don't really. There's a lot of things to contextualize as we move forward that we just don't know how it's going to be. It's going to confuse the shit out of the audience, though. I'll tell you that much if that's what they're doing. And then Dell mentions Axe Wove and Casca Reeves, and it's like, do you think Axe Woves and Casca Reeves would be the ones working with Gideon? Because I think they're just doing their own pirate thing. I think they're just like the another faction of Mandos.
Yeah, she calls them mercenaries, right? So they're probably just out there doing jobs like that. In the footage I had of Bo and Axe, they were fighting. They had the helmets on. Maybe they're fighting. She fights them into submission to be like, "You're loyal to me, follow me."
Unless they're the mercenaries who were hired for the job to rescue Moff Gideon.
But they seem on board and hating Gideon. You know?
I don't think they would purposely work for him. I don't think so.
No.
Unless it was an inside job. Once again, trust nobody. Bespin, trust nobody.
I don't trust you.
Don't.
I only trust Rob.
Bad big mistake.
He's a little too quick with that one.
Hey. The Talking Sith says, is Gideon a fallen Mando? Could Lloyd be Hark? Yeah, who is Christopher Lloyd? That's a good question. Fucking beats me at this point. And it is Gideon a fallen Mando? And I think that there's actually like a lot more going for Gideon being a fallen Mando than not. But what I found weird about the mystery is when Carson finds out that like there's that Mando residue, that Beskar residue on the ship, he's like, Mandalorian, you know, the guy on the other line, Reed, I think is his name, says so Mando's sprung Gideon or something like that, something to that effect. And it's like the bigger mystery here should be that I think it would be known that Gideon's the one who fucked over Mandalore, though. That he's like that he was a part of the eradication of those people. So that right there just becomes insanely confusing. And it might be a hard sell for that reason to the New Republic by Carson. But I mean, like, that doesn't make any sense. They would hate him. They would. So the assumption would, I think the logical assumption that I would make then would be the Mandos stole Gideon to murder him themselves. So he's dead. So leave it alone.
You're giving Favreau too much credit for that kind of move. They're not going to play it that way. I
don't
don't
see
any
though,
evidence.
right? Though, but it makes sense though.
Sure,
I mean,
that would be a fun thing to do, but I don't know where it goes in the story. It would just lead to like, then I got to go ask him, did you take Moff? Because I want him back. Like that's not what they're going to do. He's not that kind of writer. So,
but also, is he now hiding behind the Mando helmet? Because if he's living, obviously, I think he's living in the cult, not in a cult, but in the other side who could take the helmets off
this whole time.
No, if he's able to put the helmet on, people might think might not know. You know, it might be a Batman. Oh God, he has the helmet on. I don't know who he is. You know, kind of thing.
Have we ever seen Paz and Gideon in the same room? And
so you're saying he gained a bunch of weight while he was in the Imperial prison, or
it's a suit. He could act like it's weight.
Oh,
you know,
like. He did a Brendan Fraser, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then when Grogu sees him pop,
he's a damn good actor, Rob. You're onto something.
When Grogu sees Gideon pop out of Paz, he goes, I could pop out of IG-11, right? Like, he learns.
Dell says...
And then we have a montage, and he builds a new IG-11. There you go.
Dell says, I think he's a lot like Maul. He invaded Mandalore, cheated to get the saber, and Bo had to yield to him. Yeah. I mean, but also, when Maul did have it, Bo-Katan also, we have a precedence of people going, I don't care that you have the saber, because when he had it, Bo-Katan didn't care that he was supposed to be Mandalore. So like in terms of like what's supposed to be the rules, these Mandos, they kind of do their own thing. They're supposed to do one thing and then they don't, you know, like down to telling her to take off her helmet. But I don't think it means the same thing as it did before, though, because they know they could just fly back to Mandalore, get back in the water, take a fucking, you know, radioactive bath.
See, this is why I couldn't be trusted as a Mandalorian, because if I knew I had access to the living waters, I'd just be doing stupid shit all the time, you know, and then just go and take a bath and be like, hey, I'm back in the cult.
Hey, I can take my helmet off. Who wants blowjobs? Who wants blowjobs? Yeah, you know.
Hey, even Dahmer found Jesus, right? We did a good show, folks. I don't want to say any more. I got enough complaints coming my way for today.
Yeah,
let's end it here. Right?
We did it. I think we did it all. You have anything else to say before we go, Mr. Bestman?
Not
Anything else
really.
to add? All right, that's fair. That's fair. I think we said it all. We did it. We did an hour 40 on this episode. Yeah. All in all, I liked it. Is it getting a little bit? Is it a little bit cartoony to some extent? I think so. And I'm curious to see how the season washes out. I think Bestman, you said you were feeling a little bit like it was maybe the weakest season for you so far.
So far this is the weakest season for me.
Yeah.
And again, it's various reasons, but yeah, it's lost a bit of its magic for me. Maybe that can change. Maybe the next few episodes are fantastic, and you don't expect Favreau's writing to necessarily change at this point. But no, like I said, I'm not disliking the season. I'm enjoying it, just not to the extent of the past seasons. I'm not even enjoying it as much as I liked Obi-Wan. Right?
Yeah.
But no, that's the thing. And again, I've seen all this stupid crap as well online today. I suppose you both have seen it as well. In the bait and switch thing becoming a thing again, way more aggressively today than what it has been. I just don't understand how people have not seen this story going this way with Bo-Katan. That she should be the one to rule Mandalore. She should be Mandalore. They've done a pretty good job of showcasing that throughout the season that it should be Bo.
My favorite thing are the fucking grifters who read my site, steal my stories, and then are going to act like this is a surprise to them this week because it's convenient for the super chats. Watch that.
I'm sorry.
You should be.
I saw Azatru talking about it early in the chat, and I was like, yeah, he must be seeing, because I don't pay attention to the Star Wars Twitter stuff. You know this. I don't.
You're
I don't
a smart
care.
man. You're wise beyond your years.
And but if I'm coming across it now, today, it's got to be a bit bigger than what it has been. I know people probably tried it throughout the season, but today it feels like a lot, and it's so tiresome.
Just don't care. No, Bestman, just don't care. You're not supposed to care. That's the trick to Star Wars. Don't care. That's how most people get by. You just don't care.
It's important to know yourself and to know what eccentricities you roll with and which ones you don't, and where that line is for you. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean because I disagree with the don't be critical, but I also disagree with being hyperbolic. You know what I mean? And that's the magical balance that fans
cut to
can never
Jason
find.
Yelling about Willow. Metallica.
Oh, that is not hyperbolic. When you lose James Horner for James Hetfield, that is not hyperbole, friend. That is a travesty.
Well, Hetfield was smart enough not to take Percocets and fly in a plane. Sad to say, sad to say, breaks my heart.
You know what? Fucking rock and roll Horner.
Yeah, he
all right.
actually was more rock and roll than
Metallica. That's way more rock and roll than Metallica by far, man.
And I would say I give this season's.
You ain't gonna live. I ain't gonna live long enough for you to see me buying Gucci, bitch.
I give this season's visual effects an A+, the acting and the music a B+, and the story a C-.
Okay.
And the editing is, I guess. Editing per episode is fine, right? But as a whole, this whole series could have been re-edited in a way to give you a consistent A plot, B plot, even C plot versus cramming them all in one episode. That's just my opinion, Jason.
Before we go, because I got to get myself in trouble once every day. Did anybody notice the really cool shot of Bo's boobs when she's giving the plan, and she kind of moves them a little bit, does a little thing on when she's giving the plan to the other Mandos? I was like, all right, you do it, Bo. But I appreciated it.
Jason.
Hey, TikTokers do it all the time. What they're allowed to because they're all horny.
Star
and it's cool.
shipping.
Star shipping.
She walks both worlds because she's gonna take the armor and Mando as her wife. She's gonna.
Oh.
She gets a free kid out of it too.
Free kid. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us, Bestman, especially on such short notice. And thank you, Rob, as always, for being a ghost. And thank you to all the people who are a channel member and participated in the chat today, and for the podcast subscribers, and for liking the videos and all that kind of jazz. We'll be back tomorrow at our normal time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking about whatever the day's news is. And there will be some day's news, whether it comes from Bespin, myself, or somebody else. But I promise there'll be something tomorrow. If I have to make it, I will. Okay? Everybody be cool, stay in school, and just always remember.
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
Broke.